So, hello everyone, my name is Fidel, and it's a pleasure to be sharing this pre-record presentation about my PhD project that I've been working on the last years. As you can see in the title, it has to do with research done on Brazil nuts in the Peruvian Amazon, in which I've been linking different genetic aspects, for example, genetic diversity, with the sustainable management of forests in the region. We're living in an era where the world's biodiversity and the services and support that they provide to humankind and to human activities have been rapidly lost through different processes of habitat degradation. This is nothing really new to us, right? This mass extinction is something that we've heard about, and this has been covered by, for example, social media, through the general audience, politicians, and even celebrities. And even though the processes behind this are under debate, this has also been observed by scientists, and it is pretty clear that we're at a critical point in which we have to find strategies to counteract these processes. And one of the strategies that have been proposed in the Amazon for integrative approaches that combine nature conservation and social development is the use of Brazil nuts. Normally, people know them as these bigger nuts that are included in, for example, nut mixes, and it can also be found this product in different in other different products with added value, as you can see illustrated in these images. And this already signals to the value chain and different markets that this product is included in, and the people that it benefits from in the market, particularly tens of thousands of families in the Amazon region, particularly in rural areas where it's mainly produced in Bolivia, Brazil, and Peru. Apart from the relevance, the economic relevance of this product, Brazil nut is also important for its ecological aspects. It comes from a magnificent, I would say, giant tree, emergent tree, that is up to 60 meters high and can live several hundreds of years. And so it's an important component of the rainforest there. And in some areas, it's actually the last remaining big tree, at least in some of the study regions where we are. It's bee pollinated, so it also provides pollination as one of the services, and its seeds are dispersed by agoutis. If you wonder a little bit how it looks like from to be on top of one of these trees, this is one of the trees that we've been using for some of our research, and so you can see that it's emergent from the canopy, and you can see a protected forest area around it. In spite of the value and the relevance of this species socioeconomically and ecologically, the areas where it's produced, where it occurs, are undergoing processes of degradation, especially in the area where we do our research in Madre de Dios, Peru, through different processes, for example, logging or land conversion to agriculture. And this has to do also with the expansion of human populations there. And so this leads us to the first question, or to the initial question of my project, in which I was asking the question: what are the effects of these processes of forest degradation on the reproductive patterns of the Brazil nut? What are the negative effects on the reproduction of the trees, and how are the populations being affected, mostly in a long-term perspective? The rationale of this part of the work goes like this: Imagine a rainforest that is, let's say, undisturbed, hypothetically, in which all the species interact with each other. You can see here, for example, the Brazil nuts interact with other species, with each other, and have viable reproduction, so to sustain populations in the long term, and to produce also fruits that people can benefit from. If anything happens to this system, for example, if the forests around the Brazil nuts it's disappearing, the species around it are disappearing, this can have a negative impact on the reproductive patterns, on the reproductive vectors, in this case, for example, the pollinators, And even though Brazil nuts are protected by law and they remain standing, these processes might negatively affect the reproduction. So we could end up with less production, less viability, less recruitment of populations to the future, and some kind of fragmentation of populations. Now, what we would try to, what we have figured out that we could do there and to study is to see if there are changes in gene flow of these fragmented populations and to see if there are changes in genetic diversity, which are prone of the reproductive capacity of populations. So to do this, we formed teams and collected genetic material from adult trees and also seeds from them. This is a little bit how it looks like down there in Peru. And the seeds that we collected, we took them to nurseries in the facilities of our partner research institute in the Peruvian Amazon, and we used different germination beds, as you can see there, with sterilized sand, river sand, and use randomized block common garden experiments for germinating the seedlings. Here you can see them growing. You can see by the bottom of the video the dates when they were growing, and so we did this for germinating the seedlings and being able to have them for genetic analysis. The seedlings continued growing, then we took them, prepared them for being outplanted out in experimental fields, and the genetic material was taken to Zurich, to the ETH for analysis. This is a little bit how it looks like in the lab, doing some of the processes that I used for analyzing several aspects of the genetics behind them. And as one of the main results coming out from this, we observed that Brazil nut populations have significant levels of fine-scale genetic structure, which is basically the relationship in between how related individuals are with each other and the distance in between them. So you can see here that for lower distances, the individuals are more related to each other, and this drops after a certain level, and this is here shown up to 1,000 meters. In other words, what you can see here is that Brazil nuts have cluster reproductive patterns of related individuals occurring close to each other, and this is comparable with other tropical tree species with limited seed dispersal as the Brazil nut. From a sort of pragmatic point of view, the implications of this are that this represents a vulnerability of its reproduction to disturbances in the habitat. So it is necessary to safeguard gene flow across populations, otherwise they might lose their genetic diversity. And we could see that it is already happening. Here you can see one parameter that is at the opposite of genetic diversity, and that is inbreeding. And so what we observed is that, as we hypothesized from the beginning, seedlings are more inbred or were more inbred than adults, and this seems to be associated with the level of forest degradation, particularly in, for example, degraded areas. This puts in risks the reproductive viability of the species and the genetic resources of the forest, and we need to find solutions or strategies to try to counteract these processes as well. As a next step, the seedlings that were used for this genetic analysis were taken also for being outplanted in experimental fields, in which we monitor the survival and the growth of them. You can see it here in 8 different fields how their survival dropped by different monitoring times, and the surviving seedlings, how they were growing throughout the 2 years that this monitoring happened or was conducted. And I also used data from fruit production to try from adult trees to try to link it with genetic diversity and make statistical associations, and also with environmental factors. The main results from this are that genetic diversity does have a good a positive relationship, significant with the height of seedlings and also with the production of fruit trees, and actually with seedling survival as well. So this already represents or shows the importance of genetic diversity, or the genetic resources for growth, survival, and production. Then, already on the topic of planting Brazil nuts, we also, in interdisciplinary teamwork, started to analyze a little bit more of how people plant these trees, where they plant, and what is the success and the performance of individuals planting with their management practices and their sites. So try to see which are the factors that contribute the most to this, and to try to give recommendations on how to plant these trees. So to wrap up this presentation, this project was about research on the negative effects of forest degradation on the reproductive capacity and reproductive patterns of Brazilian nut populations, and to try to see the importance of genetic resources and of planting practices for management and enrichment of these forests. A little bit more from a personal point of view, and generally for research in the tropics. Working in this kind of research relates to meeting of different worlds, and not only, let's say, European and Latin American, but also in an interdisciplinary and teamwork, meeting of different people, meeting different languages and different environments. It is possible to combine basic research with state-of-the-art, which means the most modern and sort of ultimate or the latest technologies for work in the environmental sciences. It is rewarding yet really challenging to work with these kind of things, and there are many challenges during the go. So you have to adapt a lot in every single step. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be happy to take questions any other time that I'll be joining the course. Thank you.